Good morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
We bring you the news.
And the views that make you think.
Sometimes we agree.
Sometimes we don't.
This is News and Views.
And here are today's headlines.
The two impeachment complaints filed against President Bongbong Marcos have been referred to the House Justice Committee.
Former Senator Antonio Trillanes is floating a possible Marcos-Robredo uniteam ahead of 2028 elections.
A political commentator slams Chinese embassy as trolls in suits, sparking sharp words over foreign interference and free speech.
Filipino tennis ace Alex Ayala advanced to the round of 16 at the Philippine Women's Open after defeating Russia's Alina Charaeva in the round of 32.
First in the news, two impeachment complaints filed against President Bongbong Marcos have been formally referred to the House Committee on Justice, a move that officially sets the impeachment process in motion and triggers the one-year bar on filing new cases. Here's the report.
Verified complaint for impeachment against President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.
Just after 6:30 Monday evening, January 26, the House formally referred two impeachment complaints filed against President Bongbong Marcos to the House Committee on Justice. This means the impeachment process against the President is now considered deemed initiated, officially set in motion under House rules. One of the complaints referred is the impeachment case filed by Attorney Andrea De Jesus, endorsed by Pusong Party List Representative Jet Nisay last January 19. The second complaint came from the group Bayan, endorsed by the Makabayan Bloc.
I feel good kasi dapat lang naman talaga, alam naman namin talaga na walang dahilan para hindi mangyari ito. Kailangan pag-usapan na natin yung nilalaman mismo ng impeachment complaint, no, laban kay Pangulong Marcos Jr. Dahil siya ang pangunahing responsable at direktang kasangkot sa walang kapantay na lawak at laki ng corruption dito sa flood control scandal.
The referral also effectively triggers the one-year bar rule, meaning no new impeachment complaint can be filed against the President within the next 1 year. This now affects what could have been a third complaint being pushed by the group of former Congressman Mike Defensor, Jacinto Paras, and Attorney Ferdinand Topacio. Before the consolidated impeachment complaint can move forward at the committee level, it must pass two key requirements. First, sufficient in form. This means the documents must be complete and properly verified, and that the complainants are accountable for what they submitted. Second, sufficient in substance. This means the complaint must include a clear recital of facts or the detailed basis of the alleged violation establishing the committee's jurisdiction to act on it. Once the complaint is accepted, the President will be given 10 days to respond. After that, the complainants will have 3 days to reply. Under House rules, once the committee finds sufficient grounds for impeachment, it will proceed to conduct hearings. The Committee on Justice also has the power to compel the attendance of witnesses and require the production of documents and other evidence. This is the stage where cross-examinations can happen and where testimonies and proof will be presented. After the hearings, the Committee on Justice must submit its findings and recommendations to the House within 60 session days from the referral of the verified complaint. That recommendation will then be brought to the House plenary for voting. 1/3 of the House or 106 votes will be needed to impeach President Marcos. If the House votes to impeach, the articles of impeachment will be transmitted to the Senate, which will act as the impeachment court. Even before the referral to the Committee on Justice, Bayan maintained that its complaint has strong grounds for impeachment. Among the issues raised is the so-called BBM parametric formula, which they claim became the basis for the allocation of infrastructure projects for lawmakers and other officials.
Hayaan natin na yung proseso ng accountability magkaroon ng sapat na luwag. Kung sino mang citizen dyan na may gustong magsampa din, ay mabibigyan ng pagkakataon at hindi makakaramdam na sila ay excluded o sila ay kailangang magkumahog at magmadali.
Meanwhile, Malacanang reiterated its position from last week, saying the president remains confident that the impeachment complaints against him will not prosper. Castro stressed that what is clear is that the President Marcos is against corruption and that this is why he pushed for investigations into alleged anomalies.
Joining us now is Navotas Representative Toby Tiangco. Good morning, Kong. Thanks for joining us again. Kong, can you hear us okay? Wala tayong naririnig muna kay Congressman
Morning.
Toby Tiangco.
Good
Ayun.
morning.
Ayun. All right. Kong, thank you for joining us. Okay, so we would like to get your reaction on this two impeachment complaint against President Bongbong Marcos.
Yes, I think you're referring to, as of yesterday, when I left Congress, dalawa pa lang yung natatanggap. One was the one endorsed by Congressman Jet Nisay, and the
Right.
second one was the one endorsed by the Makabayan Bloc, no? So, tulad na nadinig ko kanina, it has to be included in our calendar of business within 10 session days and should be referred to the Committee on Justice within 3 days. So, yun po yung mga steps na dapat pagdaanan po niyan.
And for one, I remember you said before that mahirap for you to support, if ever, yung impeachment complaint laban kay VP Sara if hindi mapapanagot yung mga responsible dito sa flood control mess. But this time around, what about this impeachment complaint against the president? Do you think he is also responsible? Dapat ba siyang i-impeach?
Hindi, okay, I'll make that statement clear, no. Ang sabi ko noon is, number one, I am always for accountability, diba? Number one po 'yon. Walang exempted sa accountability. Number two, that statement regarding the impeachment of VP Sara was on a context na sabi ko, kung pareho lang yung impeachment complaint na ifa-file nila, yung I don't know, 150 o ilang 100 billions, tapos compared naman doon sa accusation sa mga, lalo na sa ang accusation doon sa House is doon sa very high officials, chairman ng Committee on Appropriations at former speaker, na bilyon o abot pa sa trilyon, do we have the moral authority, no, na mag-decide? And we will have to think about that when the time to decide comes, no. Parang ang sabi ko noon, bago ka tumingin, kasi kami parang fiscal dito, di ba? So napakahalaga yung moral authority. In fact, the majority leader showed his moral ascendancy yesterday when he recused himself, no. That being said, constitutional duty po namin yan. Wala kaming choice, no. Yung sinasabi kong opinion ko na yun is sa punto na kami ay magdidesisyon. Kasi sabi ko, bakit ayaw nilang magsalita? Bakit yung mga bumabaktikos noon kay VP Sara, mas maingay pa sila doon sa kay VP Sara na mas maliit ang halaga kaysa doon sa mga kasama namin sa House na sobra-sobrang laki ng halaga, no? Pero, that being said, since meron ng impeachment complaints, it's our constitutional duty, whether VP Sara yan or President Bongbong Marcos yan, it is our constitutional duty na unang-una, tanggapin yung impeachment complaints. Number two, i-refer sa, isama sa calendar of business within 10 session days. Number three, dalhin sa Committee on Justice. Pang-apat, dapat within 60 session days, magdesisyon ang Committee on Justice, no? And then, pag naggawa ng committee report ang Committee on Justice, yan na ang pagbobotohan sa plenaryo. Iba na kasi ngayon yung impeachment complaint kumpara nung dati. Kasi ngayon, even maka one-third ka automatically, you will still have to go through the process because of the Supreme Court
Yes,
ruling.
that's
No?
right.
So, iba na ngayon.
Kung ang question dito kasi itong dalawang complaint na if it gets referred to the Committee on Justice, no, will this be consolidated?
It should be. It should be. Should be. Kasi kahapon may nakita ako na sinama yan sa biglang nagpa-meeting yata yung Committee on Rules kahapon.
Yes, with Makabayan Bloc.
Yes. Magkasama yung dalawang magkasama yung dalawang impeachment complaint. Just like any other bill yan, pag pare-pareho yung topic, kino-consolidate yan at sabay na dinidinig yan. So ganyan po ang mangyayari dyan.
So pag sa committee level pa lang, Kong, ay hindi na katanggap-tanggap ang impeachment complaint sa isa, damay na po ba rin yung isa kahit mas mahina yung isa?
Yun ang, sa tingin ko, hindi. Sa tingin ko, hindi. I mean, that's my opinion. It becomes consolidated kasi after, di ba?
Yes.
Ibig sabihin, doon yan sa committee report kino-consolidate. Parang ano yan gawin natin, for example, pag kami gumagawa ng bills, di ba, iba-ibang version ng bill, di ba?
Yes.
Nagkakaroon ng substitute bill after dinggin na lahat ng bills, no? So sa tingin ko, my opinion is hindi, no? Ngayon, ang mahalaga dyan is pagdating doon sa Committee on Justice, dapat dinggin yan and dapat within 60 session days mag-report out sila sa plenaryo.
Okay, but have you seen the articles of the impeachment of both impeachment complaints?
Wala pa kahit isa wala pa ako natatanggap
okay.
na kopya.
Okay.
Wala pang napapadala sa aming kopya.
Kasi Kong, ang fear nila sa yung the first one daw, medyo some called it basura daw dahil wala daw masyadong naka-attach na evidence and merely clippings lang and 15 pages. So yung pangalawang complaint, which is supposed to be stronger daw, that's why I asked you kanina, baka madamay daw ito sa kahinaan ng isa, kung mag-consolidate daw at pagbotohan, baka ang mangyari is yung weakness ng isa will become the weakness of the other.
I cannot comment on that because I'm not totally sure, but I don't think that should be the case. Ngayon, yung sinasabi nyo, ganito yan, no? Pag insufficient in form siya, then pwedeng ma-remedy yan, di ba? Ang problema is in yung insufficient in substance, wala
That's
yan.
right.
But regarding whether it's going to be consolidated, madadamay isa o hindi, I think you will have to ask experts on that, no? Because I haven't reached the point of exploring up to that. But it's good. I will try to explore based on your questions, pag-aralan ko na kung ano yung magiging epekto nun.
Walang isa sa mga sinasabi dito aside from the, of course, yung unprogrammed funds na sinasabi nilang unconstitutional na pinirmahan pa rin ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos this time around. Pero they're also talking about the 2025 budget, which is dubbed the most corrupt budget in our history, ay meron din daw siyang pananagutan doon by merely signing it. Kasi parang he allowed it to happen. He allowed the formula na makakuha ng mga proponents, allocable, etc. What do you have to say to that?
Nadinig ko yung usapan ninyo kanina doon sa parang BBM parametric formula, no? Sinasabi nyo. Yung BBM parametric formula kasi is previously walang formula of how projects were being allocated per district, di ba? Dati wala We don't know how it's being allocated. So, minsan may taon na yung distrito mo mababa, minsan may taon na mataas. Ang ginawa lang ng DPWH noon is para magkaroon ng basis kung paano i-allocate, no? So, DPWH ang gumawa noon, gumawa sila ng formula kung paano i-allocate. And based on that allocation, at least you are assured na yung NEP, wag na natin tawagin NEP restored. NEP minimum mo is the minimum budget that is assured to your district for each year. Yun. So, hindi ko alam kung anong sinasabi nilang masama doon. Mas okay ba yung walang formula na parang arbitrary? So, ibang taon, iba-iba yung nakukuha ang budget ng distrito. Sa tingin ko, mas may room for discretion yun di ba? Kasi walang basis So kung sasabihin lang for political favors or whatever, mas may room for political favors yun kasi walang formula. Dito, ginawa ng DPWH yung formula. But of course, not everyone will be happy about the formula, di ba? Siyempre, yung mabababa, sabihin na, ba't mababa yung sa amin? Pero at least, may formula na may papakita yung DPWH on how they reach on the amount of the minimum assured for each district.
Pero kung pagpalagay na natin, tama po yung sinasabi po ninyo regarding the formula. Pero at the end of the day, the question here is why did the President sign 2025 budget knowing na ito nga, iniimbestigahan natin na napaka-maanomalya nitong budget na ito? So nakikita nila that by merely signing it, he is accountable. It's either hindi niya ginagawa ng maayos yung trabaho niya or 'di ba? Alam niya na may mali dito, pero sinaynan niya pa rin.
Okay, di ba nag-line item siya? Because the I don't know, my impression is this was not related to me. This is my impression. I think impression was that my impression is that worried sila doon sa repercussion or enacted budget. In fact, if you will go back to his SONA, di ba sabi niya na parang kung hindi ayos yung budget, di bali ng magka-re-enacted budget. So based on that statement, it seems that we will conclude na yun yung reason kung bakit niya pinirmahan. Number one yan. Number two, yung pirma niya doesn't mean naman na pinayagan niya yung mga insertions eh. Ito, very clear ito na nung napirmahan, pinahold lahat ng insertions. Pinahold yan lahat. Hindi pinarelease. Tapos, pinaaral mabuti. And alam ko, as of July 29, 2025, merong 80 billion out of the insertions na totally hindi ma-release. Yun, personal knowledge ko yun. Kasi di ba ako yung nag-aral nung insertions eh.
Yeah.
So sigurado ko na up to July 29, 2025, merong 80 billion na hindi na-release. Sumunod, okay, kasi parang ang nangyayari, kinokonekta yung mga ghost projects tsaka yung mga substandard doon sa 2025 budget, no? I will make it clear na I don't think there were substandard and ghost projects in the 2025 budget. Bakit? Bakit ko nasabi yan? Because the SONA was in July, di ba? Yung SONA, July 2025. Yung 2025 budget, in-implement yan siguro March or April. Ibig sabihin, nung nag-inspection noong July, pwedeng ongoing or even if may intention ang isang if may intention na gumawa ng ghost project, kung nadinig lang yung SONA ng presidente, pwedeng sinimulan na yung proyekto yun eh, di ba? So yung mga ghosts could have been in 2020, it's 2024 or earlier, but could not have been 2025 kasi ang lapit ng SONA doon sa period noong paggawa ng project. And if you recall, nagkaroon ng election ban, di ba?
Right.
So, yung mga insertions na yun, hindi napagawa yun noong before the election ban. Kasi yung meeting na tinawag ako na pag-aralan yun is March 24. March 24, March 29 na yung election ban.
So anong year po nakikita natin yung mga na Ghost Flood Control Project? Which budget implemented it?
I don't think it's 2020. Let me finish lang para lang mas maintindihan. Okay, March 24. So March 29 election ban, di ba?
Yes.
So ibig sabihin, hindi yan na-implement before March 29. Tapos ang election ban is 1 month after the elections. So June 12 lang pwede mag-implement. So between June 12 and July 26 yata yung SONA, wala pang ghost project during that time. So yung ghost project are previous year's budgets. I think you can validate that with the DPWH.
So that's parang mga around, can you say 2022, 2023?
Hindi ko masabi. I don't want to guess. I don't want to guess, but those are previous year's budgets. And secondly, I would like to inform the public na ang DPWH budget has a life of 2 years. So it is, in 2025, is good up to 2026 December. Ano lagi yung DPWH budget.
Well, thank you for making that clear, Congressman. Those were good points. But I'd like to go back to the impeachment complaints. Kasi ngayon, dalawa na yan. No? We have VP Sara's looming, pending the MR complaint, and also yung kay President Bongbong Marcos. We spoke to Senator Ejercito the other day, and mukhang may mga investor sentiments na medyo negative na. If these two complaints really come out already in the open, dahil parang feeling nila magkaka-power vacuum, why do you have two of the highest positions in the land under scrutiny? What is the problem with the current structure? Do you have that same sentiment, Congressman?
Yes, I totally agree with Senator J.V. Ejercito. I totally agree. But the dilemma is, we don't have a choice eh. Wala kaming choice. It is our constitutional duty to go through the process of impeachment, no? Wala kaming choice. And to decide, no? Yun na lang. It's at the point of decision, that will make the difference. Pero kung sasabihin, wala kaming choice, dapat din ganyan.
Well, before we let you go, Kong, sabi nga nila, itong mga impeachment complaint na to ay numbers game. Ngayon ba, can you share with us kung ano ba yung mas, kumbaga, mas yung percentage, yung possibility na may susuporta ba dito sa impeachment complaint against the president or wala?
I've always looked at impeachment complaints independently. I always base it on the evidence. In the past impeachment complaints, kahit hindi ko kakampi yung mga in-impeach, hindi ako bumoto because I thought that there was not enough evidence. Even it was popular to impeach those officials at that time. And ang maganda sa akin, I don't have a national party. So I can independently evaluate at walang magiging party stand if ever there is, 'di ba? Kasi mag-isa lang ako.
Well, kasi
malaya akong pumili diyan.
Pero wala po kayo naririnig among your peers?
Na kung ano yung
Susuportahan sila, susuportahan nila.
Ang worry nila is the effect on the economy. Karamihan, ganun yung worry.
Oo, because if I can remember...
Talk about it kasi wala pa kaming kopya.
Right.
May kopya na, no?
Oo. Yeah.
Hindi ko alam.
Oo, but if I can remember it correctly, si Senator Win Gatchalian sabi niya, ito daw mga pagdinig sa flood control mess ay maaring kumbaga para nagkakaroon na ng sway politically kung paano tignan ng mga tao sa Kongreso itong how the administration is handling the flood control mess.
No, but okay, I just want to go back to the statement kanina. It's true that the impeachment of the top two officials will not be good for the economy, no?
Right.
But that is part of accountability. Pero ngayon, kahit wala pa naman yung impeachment nung dalawa, o kahapon lang napadala yung kay BBM, apektado na rin yung ekonomiya natin. And it's also because of accountability. Because wala pa yung malaking isda, di ba? So even without the impeachment, the impeachment could possibly worsen investor confidence. Pero ngayon pa lang, may problema na tayo sa investor confidence, whether local or international. It's because doon sa accountability ng malaking isda, wala pa kasing nahuhuling malaking isda.
Oo nga. Alright, as always, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Yun ang mahalaga.
Opo.
Mahalaga yung accountability ng mga involved doon sa flood control. So I think the government has to be more proactive to bring back saldi ko. Sabi ko nga, mas maganda kung may high-level team tayo na kung duda natin na sa Portugal, magpadala tayo ng high-level team na pumunta mismo doon sa Portugal to talk with their law enforcement agencies. No? And number two, magandang abangan natin yung next Senate Blue Ribbon Committee ni Senator Ping Lacson doon sa kay Attorney Paras na yun yung link between 30 Tamarind and former Speaker Martin Romualdez.
Naniniwala po ba kayo may mga feelers na? Do you think pwede yun, it's possible na medyo parang nakukonsensya na siya at he
I
wants
don't have any personal information. Mahirap magsabi ng yes or no.
Opo.
Pareho tayong umaasa lang sa third-hand information.
Right. But as always, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Thank you. Po.
That was Navota's Representative Toby Tiangco.
All right, the International Criminal Court has ruled that former President Rodrigo Duterte is fit to stand trial for crimes against humanity. The ICC's pre-trial chamber rejected the defense's request to indefinitely suspend proceedings due to alleged cognitive impairment after independent medical experts found Duterte capable of participating in the case. The court has now set the confirmation of charges hearing on February 23, 2026, where judges will determine whether there is enough evidence to move the case to full trial. The ICC said it will later issue guidelines on how Duterte will participate in the hearing, whether in person or virtually. Duterte remains in ICC custody in The Hague over his administration's deadly war on drugs.
Joining us is Attorney Cristina Conti, a human rights lawyer and an ICC Assistant to Counsel. Magandang umaga po sa inyo muli and thanks for joining us, Attorney. Kumusta po?
Good morning.
Okay, sige. Ito pong ruling na ito, what does the ICC ruling on Duterte's fitness mean for the pace and direction of the case?
Well, it clearly means that the pretrial chamber can go ahead with setting the hearing as they have already, and possibly starting with trial at the end of or at the middle of the year. Ang pagkakalarawan nga I know that there would be one appeals, diba, to this decision, and second, there is still a pending appeal on jurisdiction which could stop trial. Those are the two issues that could stop trial. Jurisdiction, if the court has no authority to rule on these matters, then wala lahat ang kahit ano, even the investigation. On appeal, if the fitness to stand trial is ruled or decided in favor of Duterte, meaning is unfit, then trial will either be adjourned, suspended. But clearly, at this point, no other roadblocks are on the table as regards the pretrial chamber. So if we were to consider this as yung pretrial chamber na train driver, the train will go on. The office o yung parang appeals chamber na lang ang magsasabi na, teka, tigil tayo. Pero titigil yung tren kung saan siya aabutan. Pero tuloy-tuloy lang siya.
Actually, may date na po no? February 23 yung confirmation. This is without the appeal pa of the defense. Kasi sabi ng kanyang legal counsel, Attorney Kaufman, na it was unfair daw for them dahil daw hindi sila binigyan ng pagkakataon na mag-present din ng medical records, if I'm not mistaken, if yun ang kanyang sinabi, at yun nga sila ay willing mag-appeal.
Well, yes, but then I take exception to that statement because one, it is not accurate that the protocol of the court is as he stated. He was technically, kumbaga, if he's arguing that he, as defense, they were not able to present experts, their own experts, then the prosecution will also could also argue the same way, because the experts that were engaged are independent experts agreed upon by all parties, and at this point, it just feels as if dahil dehado siya, di nag-aapela siya. So, for me, the opinion of an independent panel of experts accepted by all parties, wala nang dyan, kumontra. Earlier, there was a team drafted, nagkaroon ng issues, thanks to the defense for their due diligence. But then, when the list was finalized, it was clear upon all parties that these experts were leaning neither towards the defense nor for the prosecution. So, he can go on with his appeal as expected or as according to the protocol, but this hearing has to resume by February 23rd. We are 5 months overdue already.
Right. And how long will this confirmation of charges take?
At the previous hearing, the scheduling order or the instructions as regards the hearing, we could glean from that. It stated that the hearing would go on, or we are reserved at least for 4 days. It was supposed to go on 23, 24, 25, and a little bit of 26th. According to the previous submissions, each of the parties will be speaking for a total of about 8 hours. But then the court only convenes for a few hours each day. So they have specified times like 9 to 11 yata, and then 2 to 4. So it's going to be a challenge to fit all the statements, all the witnesses that could be presented within 1 day. So it could take up to 4 days. Now, at the end of the 4-day or how many day of the multi-day hearing, the decision of the court will not be handed down. Hindi pa po pagpapasyahan or ibibigay ng korte yung sagot nila sa tanong, may sapat bang ebidensya? Iko-confirm na ba natin o hindi? They have up to 2 months to decide on that matter. And so, after February, we'll be counting down to, I think, April for the decision whether to begin or resume trial or not.
Well, kumbaga nakita natin lahat ng legal avenue ng defense medyo parang hindi nagiging favorable sa kanila. Una, of course, yung interim release request nila, jurisdiction of the case, and right now yung fitness to stand trial. So, given those mga pangyayari, ano po yung nararamdaman ngayon din, of course, ng mga victims, 'di ba, on the how this case is going?
Well, palakpakan sila na, wow, finally, we're a few steps towards trial. Dati, parang feeling nila, parang hindi matutuloy. Siyempre, bawat kibot ng defense, ang laging nilang sinasabi, hindi na pwede, hindi na tayo pwedeng tumuntong ng trial. From the very beginning, we've pointed that out, even the victims have said so, that all the more if they begin trial, parang dehado na. Ano ang depensa ni Duterte sa trial? Kaya lahat talaga binato niya para hindi makapagsimula yung trial. Yun yung pakiramdam namin. Pero kung sa amin kasi, gusto namin syempre ng trial. Katotohanan lamang. Sa ngayon nga, keeping, di ba, the secret to happiness is keeping expectations low. For the victims, they all just want trial to begin. Para sa kanila, malayo pa at mas mataas na kung hihingin pa nila na makonvict si Duterte. Dati nga sabi nila, mas mapakinggan lang tayo ng ICC eh. Okay na
Dapat
kami.
na.
But now, this is moving along to the possibility that they could present further views before the court. I would just also like to add that in, I think simultaneous almost as the announcement regarding the decision on fitness, the court has also given out instructions as regards victim participation.
Okay. Attorney, no, well, given na if everything goes smoothly in confirmation of charges and then yung sinasabi niya after that, 2 months, magkakaroon ng decision about that confirmation of charges, ano ang next step? Kasi, of course, medyo may pagkakaiba ang ICC sa mga Philippine courts eh.
Right. Yun nga po. Marami ang nalilito na kapag tumungtong na kasi ng korte dito sa Pilipinas, ibig sabihin, tapos ng
Yeah.
investigasyon, kumpleto na ang akusado. Sa ICC, hindi po. Kaya, klaro yun na tuloy-tuloy pa rin ang investigasyon. Pwede pa rin maghanap ng dagdag na witnesses kung may haharap pa sa Office of the Prosecutor. At sa kaso mismo ni Duterte, ang susunod na stage, kumbaga, ay yung trial. Yun yung pinakamalaking portion. So, kung step by step, confirmation of charges hearing muna. There will be a hearing called like a status hearing, status conference, parang tatanungin ano ba ang mga schedules na susundan natin. And then, yung mismong trial or yung parang arraignment na sinasabi, it doesn't happen that way in the ICC na babasahin sa'yo tapos parang guilty or not guilty.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right.
Meron
oo.
ganon, pero hindi arraignment yung itsurahan. Pero that will come at the start of the trial.
So, attorney, in historically ba sa confirmation of charges, has there been an instance na, well, hindi na-confirm yung charges mismo?
Yes, there's been a handful, pero from what I know, it really depended on the evidence presented. But I'd like to also point out that there was this one time that hindi siya confirmation of charges talaga. It happened before even. They sued or on trial was the president of an African country. Wala siyang warrant of arrest pero nag-voluntary surrender siya. So nagkaroon ng kaguluhan, siya yung sinasabing may kasalanan. Eventually, he became president. He appeared before the court while president.
Voluntarily?
But then voluntarily, but then went home to Kenya. The country's Kenya. He went home to Kenya and then carried on as president. You know, as it appears, the victims, the witnesses, most especially, refused to cooperate with the ICC further. Kaya napilitan yung Office of the Prosecutor to withdraw the charges, even before confirmation of charges. So those kinds of developments are, kumbaga, in the history of the court, and I'm pretty sure they will try to kumbaga, avoid that kind of issue or dilemma in the future. Una, hindi na nila patatagalin ang mga kaganapan. And then pangalawa, sisiguraduhin nila na eto nga yung sa interim release, di ba? Hindi makakadagdag ng krimen or gagawa ng dagdag krimen yung suspect at hindi magi-interfere dun sa proceedings.
Alright, recently there's a public call from the ICC on witnesses. Of course, yung mga critics are saying bakit humihingi pa kayo ng mga witnesses, etc. Some are criticizing it, some are actually insulting the call. What do you have to say to that? And perhaps you can explain to us bakit there's a need to call on witnesses publicly.
Well, for these people who are criticizing, I think you're coming from a place of ignorance. You do not know how the court works and how the investigation is carried out. And it's also from a place of insensitivity. As I've mentioned, the investigation is still ongoing simultaneous with the hearings, with the court trials. And then insensitivity in other situations, and even in our situation, how could you expect victims or witnesses to come out when the vice president is someone who was so intimately involved in the Davao death squads and, as they say, will most likely figure in the 2028 elections. At yung takot nandyan pa rin, lalo na kung yung mga mismong tumira or yung direct perpetrators, yung mga pumatay, yung pa rin ang naka-assign na pulis sa lugar nyo. Kumbaga, halos walang pinagbago yung sitwasyon ng mga biktima at ng mga witnesses. Kaya hindi natin masasabi na kaagad-agad pagkatapos ng termino ni Duterte, magsusulputan, magsisilabasan ng mga biktima at witnesses. At yung isang punto din doon, ebidensya. Sinigurado ng DDS, the death squad, na walang ebidensya ang kanilang mga o pangit ang ebidensya na pangahawakan matapos ng mga insidente. Ang hawak natin ngayon ay mga police report na hindi na mabasa, copy-paste ang ilan, at walang accompanying documents. Kumbaga, ito na yon, police report lang. Samantalang meron dapat after operation report, investigation report, SOCO reports, halos kalat-kalat at hindi nila pwedeng sisihin ang mga biktima doon sa bakit hindi nyo kasi kinolekta. It is not our duty. It is not our responsibility. We did it out of need dahil hindi ginagawa ng gobyerno ang mag-imbestiga.
Alright, on that note, maraming salamat po muli sa inyong oras, Attorney Cristina Conti, a human rights lawyer and ICC Assistant to Counsel. Good morning.
Good morning, ingat.
We'll be back with more stories after the break here on One News. Good morning. You're still watching News and Views here on One News.
F.
Alright, political analyst Ronald Llamas traded sharp words with the Chinese embassy. Llamas called the embassy trolls in suits over its recent online attacks against Philippine officials. The remark came amid growing criticism from Beijing over statements made by Philippine authorities on West Philippine Sea or issues. The Chinese embassy hit back online, accusing Llamas of being a hyena in sheep's clothing and questioning his credibility as a political analyst. Llamas responded by saying the embassy missed the point, stressing that China, as a guest in the Philippines, has no right to harass Filipino frontliners and officials. Joining us now is, of course, our political heckler.
Political heckler
From
ba?
Storycon, jumping now to News and Views. Good morning, Sec.
Good morning!
Heckler ba, Sek, o or pandit?
Kanina ko pa kayo pinapanood.
Ano ba nangyayari dito, Sek? Bakit ba may mga...
May bago kang best friend, Sek.
Oo. May hyena, may wolf, may lion, may ang daming animals.
Kita ko nga yung kanilang yung kanilang website. Nagulat ako na for a nobody, minomonitor pala nila ako. Kawawa naman. Taas yung aking self-esteem.
Nakamali po talaga ng link.
Dahil gumuho na umaas na ngayon. No? Dahil pagkasama ko si Manny Mugato, gumuguho yung aking self-esteem.
Sek, ano lang para refresher lang sa iba, paano ba nagsimula tong exchange of words with the embassy?
Well, una ay dinedepensahan o binabanatan ng ating senador yung kanilang pag-water cannon dun sa mga isda natin sa galing Mindoro sa Escoda Shoal. No? Kung maalala nyo, that was after magbigay sila ng isang boteng tubig dun sa missing daw na mangingisda sa West Philippine Sea at biskwit no? At after nun, nag-water cannon naman sila. So medyo kinriticize sila ng ating mga legislators at ng ilang tao sa gobyerno, katulad ni spokesperson na Tariela. Si Coast Guard spokesperson Tariela, naglabas ng ilang mga caricature
Oh, during his talk.
na lumalabas sa social media. Hindi sa kanya galing. Parang kino-quote lang niya yung social media. Pikon itong mga Chinese. Binalatan nila ng husto yung ating mga senador at kongresista
Right.
at saka yung si Commodore Tariela. Yung balat nila masyadong unbecoming of embassy. Masyadong unbecoming of a diplomat, no? Kaya pinaalala ko sa kanila yung international conventions ruling yung proper conduct ng mga diplomats.
Yes.
No? So, at medyo piniti ko sila dahil sabi ko, ang asta nila parang mga trolls. Hindi mga diplomats. No? Kaya tinawag ko silang trolls in suits. Mga trolls na naka-Amerikana. Galit na galit. No? Sumagot last Sunday. Yung mismong araw na nilabas ko yung column ko sa Philippine Star, sinagot mismo nila na ako daw ay hindi naman political analyst, nagpapanggap lang ako na political analyst, totoo naman yun. No? Sabi nyo nga, political heckler lang. Dapat tinignan nila yung title ng column. Political heckler. Walang pretensions of being a political analyst katulad ni Richard Heydarian.
Okay. All right. So, Sec, okay. So, recently or yesterday, if I'm not mistaken, there's a resolution filed by Senator Risa Ontiveros. And this was signed by some senators, no? Doon nga sa versus Chinese embassy remarks, yung sa pinag-uusapan natin kanina, no? Pero may mga ibang mga senator na hindi pumirma. One of which is si Senator Marcoleta and of course si Senator Padilla.
Yeah.
No? Iba ang kanilang view on this matter. Na parang, 'di ba, parang sinasabi nila si spokesperson Tariela baka hindi daw nakikipag-ugnayan sa DFA dun sa mga pinagsasabi niya. Etc. So mainly parang hindi nila sinign itong reso na to. What do you have to say to that?
Well, expected naman yun. Dahil yung mga hindi pumirma, yung mga minority, opposition, na kaalyado ng mga Duterte. Isa lang galing sa majority ang pumirma ang kasama nila. Si Pia Cayetano, na kapatid nung leader ng minority, si Alex Cayetano. Kaya medyo expected naman siya. Ang hindi ko lang expected ay lantaran silang sumusuporta sa China. At dinidepensahan pa nila yung China. No? Unprecedented yung 15 senators dahil nag-cross sila ng party lines to unite in a statement defending our honor. No? At medyo mali yung sinasabi nila na walang coordination sa DFA. Dinidepensahan nga ng DFA yung ating mga senador at saka kongresista. Kung nakita niyo yung statement ng DFA.
Yeah.
No? Kaya hindi yan totoo. Ayun lang, yung botohan sa Kongreso is a reflection ng botohan between majority and minority at dun sa mga supporters ng mga Duterte.
Well, that same resolution called on the Department of Foreign Affairs to take necessary diplomatic measures. At this point in time, Sec, what diplomatic measures are we looking at na po pwede pa natin gawin?
Ang sabi kasi nung Chinese Embassy ay hindi naman daw tayo nagrereklamo sa kanila. Kaya pinaalala natin, meron tayong more than 200 diplomatic protests, no, sa Chinese Embassy. Ikalawa ay yung isang proposal ay pwede bang isuspend muna ng DFA yung 14-day visa free entry ng mga Chinese sa ating bansa na ginawa nila last week. Parang mali yung timing Wina-water cannon yung ating mga isda, tapos parang ririgaluhan mo yung China ng visa-free entry sa ating bansa. So, medyo baka pwedeng isuspend muna, no? Habang pinipigilan natin itong atake sa atin nitong Chinese Embassy. Huwag niyong kalimutan bagong-bago itong Chinese ambassador.
Ito nga, oo.
Talagang wolf diplomacy. Medyo mali lang yung idiom dahil sinabi kasi nila hyenas in sheep's clothing. Medyo mali lang yung idiom, no? Puro tutulungan sila ni Juan Rivera na katulad ko, editor ng Barsitarian, no? na ayusin yung kanilang idiom.
Sek, for a while daw, maraming sasabi din on the other side of the fence, yung mga pro-China, tignan mo naman na for that moment in time, naging sheep sila by helping Filipinos in distress, na mabait naman daw sila, pinakain sila at lahat.
Yung recent, incident sa
pero ang question daw dito is ang timing ng paglabas daw ng video on this incident. Parang sinasabi nila, in the midst of all this chaos, bakit biglang may music pa, napaka-edited. Ano masasabi mo sa Sek?
Well, una, nagpapasalamat tayo. Pero actually, ginagawa din natin yun sa mga Chinese fishermen na nakikita nating may problema o kaya lumulubog yung barko. Ibig sabihin, mutual naman yun
Yeah.
Pero doesn't negate yung kanilang invasion sa ating teritoryo at pagtatayo ng artificial islands sa ating territory at saka yung aggression nila sa ating mga frontliners sa West Philippine Sea. No? So, salamat, pero magayos naman kayo. Huwag niyo naman kaming sakupin. Huwag niyo naman kaming iharas. No? Yun naman sinasabi natin. Tapos, in spite of the music, parang music video no?
Nakita niyo ba? Napanood niyo ba, Sek?
Wag natin kalimutan, ngayon yung 10th anniversary ng ating historic victory sa UNCLOS.
Yes.
Kasi sa international community, wala yung 11, 10, 9 dash line ng China sa South China Sea. At meron tayong karapatan sa West Philippine Sea. Tayo lang ang may karapatan doon. So wag kalimutan ng China. Wag nilang kalimutan yung elephant in the room. Tinalo natin sila sa International Tribunal ng UNCLOS.
That's right.
Na tayo sinuportahan. No? 10th anniversary this year.
Oo nga, that's true. Okay, so Sec, the DFA has urged calm and respectful exchanges, And syempre ngayon kasama ka dun sa narrative ngayon na medyo may mga trades, sharp words with Chinese embassy. So how do we balance that narrative right now na ang DFA mismo ay nagtatanong o nagsasabi sa atin na be calm, be respectful, and versus na pagtatanggol sa ating sovereignty?
Well, okay naman yun Pero ang problema ay tayo yung binabanatan. No? Parang itong West Philippine Sea. Dapat daw kalma lang tayo. Ang problema, pag nakapasok sa ating teritoryo at medyo matindi yung aggression sa ating frontliners, ang sagot dyan ay hindi capitulation. Ang sagot dyan ay resistance. Walang ginagawa natin no? Kung hindi tayo inaatake, hindi naman tayo babanat. Kung hindi ganyan yung tono nila, hindi rin ganyan yung tono natin. Pero buti na lang, wala ako sa gobyerno. Kaya pwede ako manghekel. No? Hindi ako kailangan depensahan ng DFA. No? Ang pwede magdepensa sa akin ay yung Storycon.
Yun.
Pero Sek, ano masasabi niyo sa bagong ambassador, di ba? Bago siya?
Oo,
yung envoy?
yun na yun, oo. Supposedly galing siya sa Washington.
So, meron
medyo
siyang-
mas kalmado daw siya.
Dapat, mas kalmado daw. Mas kalmado nga ba siya, Sek, kaysa yung nauna?
I doubt it. Dahil yung mga nade-deploy sa Amerika, yan yung sharp edge of the spear. No? Yan yung talagang mga wolf diplomacy. No? Dahil papasok sila dun sa teritoryo ng kanilang kalaban.
Oo.
So, hindi ako nagugulat na ganun siya katalas umatake sa atin. At hindi rin ako nagugulat dahil sa China kasi walang freedom of expression. Walang freedom of the press. Hindi kayo pwede ron. Kukulong kayo ron. No? Kung babanat kayo. Kaya parang ganun ang attitude nila sa atin
Oo. So,
Bakit kayo bumabalat sa amin? Bakit kayo bumabalat sa amin? Superpower kami. No? Parang ganun yung attitude nila No? Dahil nga, ganun sa China.
So anong basa mo dun sa...
Freedom of the press.
Right. So ano basa mo dun sa appointment sa kanya dito?
Ba't siya pinadala?
Bakit siya ang pinadala dito sa atin?
Well, ang tingin ko ay talagang pinaprioritize nila tayo. Dahil ang tingin nila, tayo yung torn on their side. Tayo yung nagpanalo nung UNCLOS. Tayo lamang ang nakasuhan ng China. Isang superpower. The biggest army in the world. Kaya medyo galit sila sa atin. Lalo na ngayon, this year, tayo ang head ng ASEAN.
Yes.
Dahil tayo nagtutulak ng Code of Conduct para walang away. Ayaw ng China. Huwag natin kalimutan yun ha. Tayo ang nagtutulak ng Code of Conduct para dito sa West Philippine Sea at saka South China Sea ay walang tension. Ayaw ng China. Ayaw nila itulak yung baso. No? Dahil nga, ang tingin nila, amin lahat ito. West Philippine Sea, South China Sea, kahit nga Palawan kine-claim nila. Hindi naman pwede yun. Hindi naman pwede yun. Kaya paalala lang dun sa mga pro-China na mga talking heads, magayos naman kayo. Depensahan nyo naman yung ating bansa.
Right. Okay, so before we let you go, very quickly na lang, second, so we will be expecting more sharp words from you pag ito ang usapin in the future, in the coming
depende.
days?
Kung papatulan nila uli ako today, paano kahapon pinatulan ako no? Yung Lion King pa yung natawa ko, may kasama pang Lion King na picture. Kaya kung papatulan nila ako ngayon, alam mo naman, di naman ako nakakapagpigil, no? Hindi naman ako Ed Linggaw, no? So ipitik pa rin ako. Pero ayoko namang makatulong dito sa gulo. No? Ako pagdepensa lang sa ating mga leaders. Na sana ay dapat gawin din ng DFA. Medyo tahimik sila kay spokesperson Tariela Dinepensa nila yung mga senador, pero si Tariela hindi nila dinepensahan. Hindi naman pwede yun. No, kasama natin yan leader natin yan, spokesperson natin yan.
Exactly.
Ako pwede akong tumahimik. No, pag sinabi ni Patrick o Ronald, tumahimik ka, tatahimik na ako.
Aba, masunuri naman pala.
Masunuri.
Okay. Alright, as always, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, Ronald Llamas. Thank you.
Former Secretary Ronald Llamas and political heckler daw.
Meron ng bago kasama sa niya, title. Hyena na siya.
Political hyena. Yun, maganda yun. Political hyena, Sec. Alright, don't go away because we're not done yet. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching News and Views here on One News. AFP spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Rear Admiral Roy Vincent Trinidad, said that any spin on the Chinese Coast Guard's rescue of Filipino crew members could lead to questions about their real intent. Here's the report.
AFP spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Rear Admiral Roy Vincent Trinidad, said that while the Philippines acknowledges the Chinese Coast Guard's rescue of Filipino crew members, the incident should not be overstated. In an interview with One News The Big Story, Trinidad noted that given China's history of coercive and aggressive actions in the West Philippine Sea, any spin on the rescue could raise questions about their real intent.
We don't have to give a spin to this or to overemphasize, especially if the ship or the nationality conducting the rescue has a record of coercive and aggressive actions against the very fishermen that they have rescued.
He also emphasized that assisting vessels in distress is a basic obligation of all mariners, regardless of nationality.
Every mariner, every merchant ship is mandated to render assistance in the high seas to any ship, any person requiring assistance. And we are thankful to whoever would be able to help a Filipino fisherman regardless of nationality. Tayo ay nagpapasalamat.
On Thursday, the Chinese Coast Guard rescued 15 survivors and recovered 2 deceased from a cargo ship that capsized near Scarborough Shoal. In separate incidents, Trinidad said some passengers involved in recent boat capsizing off Basilan and Davao Occidental were not wearing life jackets.
The SOP is that when you board any ship, a transport vessel, a naval vessel, Coast Guard, you have to know where the life-saving equipment are, where the lifeboats are, where the life jackets are. And there will be a command given if you have to abandon ship or to wear life jackets. So it's not automatically na susuotin na lahat ng pasahero.
The Navy is also taking part in search operation for missing individuals. He also assured the public that the AFP can monitor and secure the area around the Malampaya gas fields.
When we speak of monitoring, back in the days of old, numbers ang pinag-uusapan. Today, it is capability. We may have fewer ships, but with the newer sensors, stronger reach of their sensors, we are now talking of the capability to monitor and to respond. And I would like to say, the Philippine Navy has sufficient sensors which are sea-based, ground-based, air-based, and even space-based to monitor our critical areas, especially yung Malampaya.
Oh, ayun. Yun. Kasi di ba pinag-uusapan nga natin
Yes.
off-air. So ang doon naman kasi bound tayo ng UNCLOS na whoever is there and whatever's happening, basta kailangan ng tulong, dapat bigyan.
That's right. Tsaka we were talking with, di ba sabi nga ni former Secretary Ronald Llamas, may mga times pagkakataon, nag-rescue rin naman tayo. Di ba? And hindi man tayo gumawa ng video or i-broadcast mo na nag-rescue. It's a basic human trait that you help somebody in need. Ganoon naman kasimple. Wala mang kinalaman ng fishermen natin sa mga issue
Right.
'Di ba? So, ganoon yung pero siksik tayo today.
Yeah.
Oo, dami natin na tackle. From impeachment with Kong Toby, the Attorney Conti, tapos kay Sec Ronald. So, 3 topics.
You know what I forgot to ask kay Attorney Cristina Conti if yung confirmation of charges will be streamed live. As compared to yung presentation, 'di ba? Yung last year.
Pero alam ko lahat ng proceedings sa ICC is really streamed. Streamed live sila. Kasi they're equipped for that Oo. Alright, before we let you go, I'd like to leave everyone with a quote. Doing what's right isn't always popular, but it's always correct. The wife is always correct.
That's true.
Not popular, but correct.
Good job.
And that wraps up today's episode of News and Views.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunzad Castro.
And I'm Angelo Castro III. Kapatid, we are one news.
All sides, all the time.